Welcome to the Scardello Cheese Club for the month of May. This month we're really excited because we've got Portuguese cheeses and some really cool Portuguese accompaniments. Portuguese cheese is just something we don't have in the shop very often because they're kind of hard to get. And so we had to do a lot of special ordering to get there. And it didn't work out perfectly. We'll talk about that toward the end. But we do have some really, really cool things for this month's club. We're really excited for you guys to try it. So Alejandro, why don't you start us out with talking about our first accompaniment, the quince paste.
Yeah, for Standard Club, we're also trying to do everything as close enough to Portuguese. So we're doing a family-owned business. They're sixth-generation run business. They do a lot of jams, oils or condiments. But this one specifically that we're doing, it's a membrillo or quince paste. It's a classic pairing for Portuguese and Spanish cheeses. Think of something that's in between an apple and a pear, but it has flavors of apricot, peach, or even tropical fruit like guava. And the fruit itself has a lot of fiber, so when this gets cooked down, it kind of turns into a fruit paste or a fruit pate that is being able to slice and has a really good texture, kind of similar the same way the cheese has a slightly soft yet firm texture. But we like to pair this so much with sheep's and goat's milk cheeses, so having a menu this time that's so vast in sheep and goat's milk, I feel like will be a great pairing.
Well, and the other thing, Portugal is known for torta-style cheeses. So these little round cheeses that usually have a firm exterior and kind of a soft to very soft interior. And so what we've got here is we've got Amarello. This is a sheep and goat's milk cheese, small producer, Birra Baxa, or Birra Lacte is the producer. And starting off with this one, because Amarello just translates to yellow, this is yellow cheese. And what's awesome about it is that it's got a fairly mild flavor.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is that they don't use thistle to rennet this, they use to coagulate the milk. They're using traditional animal rennet. And so the flavors end up being a little more mild than some of our other torta cheeses that we're gonna see.
Yeah, and even though it's a mixture of both milks, I feel like for starting on the menu, it's a more crowd pleasing, at least on the torta style.
Sure.
The sheep's milk gives you a little bit of that savory, gamey profile, but the goat's milk brings some acidity to it that runs up those more sweeter flavors. And I think the coolest thing that you guys will notice, at least from this category of the cheeses, is how the rind itself is so much harder than the texture of the cheese. Think of it as something that has a hard texture, kind of like a Gouda or even a cheddar, but the interior is as soft as a brie.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so next up we have Serpa, and this is brought in by Morgata, also another really cool small producer. And Serpa is going to be that traditional classic style of torta. This is made with sheep's milk, and it is thistle renneted. So thistle is a slow coagulant, so it takes a long time for the curd to get formed in the vat. And when that happens, you have a lot more flavor development. And so with this cheese, you're gonna get some bigger and bolder flavors. This truly is kind of that classic style, a lot of grassy notes, there's a lot of really big notes. The other thing I'll mention about these cheeses, they come a lot of times wrapped in this cloth on the outside. And it does develop some blue and green mold spots on the outside. We're of course gonna do our best to clean this up before we cut it and send it to you, but if you notice some discoloration on the rind, that's not weird or bad. It's just part of what the cheese is. It's a natural part of the aging process for these.
I think this is the one that you guys will find the much more complex and different flavor because of the thistle rennet. And sometimes it can be a cheese hard to describe because it's such a specific flavor. But to me specifically, or you can tell me if I'm far from this, it's kind of like something that has some similar flavors to a yogurt, but you still get some acidity from kind of like the same way you will from a yogurt, but some savory and earthy notes, also grassy from the sheep's milk. The texture of the cheese itself, the fact that you're able to scoop it out and spreadable makes it so rich and buttery, and you kind of want to go for another bite, but it's a flavor that's so different than everything else. And I feel like that's maybe when the quince paste brings some sweetness kind of to round up those gamey flavors from the sheep's milk.
Yeah, for sure. So we also have a couple of cheeses, harder cheeses from the Azores, the islands that Portugal is part of Portugal. And so two different islands. The first one, São Jorge or St. George. This is a pasteurized cow's milk cheese from that island. And it's known as the black rinded cheese because they always put this black wax on the exterior. So don't eat that part. That's not going to taste great. But we popped this open yesterday to start cutting into it, and just tastes
Delicious.
amazing. I mean, really, really nice cheese.
Yeah. This is the one that I feel like everybody will be really into it, or it's the cheese that brings all of the other ones together, because it's something that's more approachable. I feel like the closest way to describe it is something that's very similar or not too far from a Gouda. You got this wax rind that helps the cheese not lose so much moisture, but the flavor of the cheese itself is so rich and buttery, and there's so much going on for being just a 9-month aged cheese. And I feel like the cow's milk compared to all the sheep and goat that we have going on, it brings so much more sweetness.
Yeah, for sure. We also have Sal George or St. George. This one's going to be made from raw cow's milk. Comes from the very small island of St. George. And so some bigger flavors, a little more age on this, a little firmer, but I think you're really going to enjoy this one.
All right, for St. George or St. Jorge, if you guys remember when we did a couple of months ago for the French club, we also had a cheese feature called St. George. I think it's really cool how we're able to see that tradition really is bound to cheesemakers, because we got two cheeses that are totally different milks and even different process of cheese making, but they're named after the same kind of story and have kind of the same tradition. But it's a cheese that I feel like will kind of like the San Miguel will bring some sweetness into the other ones as well.
And both these, I think, cool that we have two island cheeses, both cow's milk. So our other accompaniment is these really cool Portuguese crackers. They have not arrived here yet because they're stuck in customs. So we hope they get here in time to make the club. If they don't, we will have an alternate cracker situation. But tell us about the crackers we have coming.
We're also doing some thin wafer crackers that come from Portugal. They're flavored with sesame, but we wanted something especially for the softer cheeses or torta cheeses, something that brings some texture. So having that sesame present in there that mirrors almost that nutty flavor from the sheep's milk, and even with the cow's milk, that will be delicious.
Cool. So for our deluxe club, we've got a couple of great cheeses. The first of which, another torta-style cheese, but this one, which is Queijo de Cabra Curado, so cured goat cheese, made by Biera Lacte, which is the same company that makes the Amarello in your box. This is a little bit of a firmer torta-style cheese, a little more age on it, but 100% goat's milk. And so once again, like, I think it's cool that you're getting to taste similar style cheeses made with different milk sources, milk types, because that is definitely going to have a big effect on the flavor.
Yeah. Queijo de Cabra is probably one that we have had more often, at least that I can remember from previous years. And it has a more firm texture than the other torta cheeses, but still has the rich, creamy, soft interior. And the goat's milk, like Rich mentioned, I feel like you guys are lucky able to taste this specific cheese that we don't carry often, but in all different types of milk. And the goat's milk definitely brings so much more acidity and sweetness as well. But I feel like having the crackers and the jam, even if you're not into goat's milk, this is one that might get you started into that.
Yeah, and then the other cheese we have, we don't have that out here today, but it is also kind of where we ran into some problems. Some of our pre-orders didn't make it, and so this isn't actually a cheese from Portugal, it's from Spain. This is called Pascualino. It's going to be a sheep's milk cheese. And the cool thing about this cheese is in 1947, you had a count in Spain who met a CIA agent from the United States. They fell in love. And when they kind of settled out on this estate, she really devoted the rest of her life to making products that represented this small area of Spain that were very traditional. And so this Pascualino, very rustic, cool cheese from the Iberian Peninsula that I think fits in really well with the other cheeses that we have from Portugal.
Yeah. Also, one that we don't have often, I feel, Pascualino, but even though Spanish still represents a lot of the same things that we do with the torta cheeses, so you guys will still find some similar flavors and similar textures. After that, we also have for accompaniments for our deluxe club, we're doing a little jam and an olive oil. We thought this would be also a great pairing, having so many complex flavors with the cheeses. Even with the cow's milk cheeses, I feel like the olive oil will bring some texture and luscious flavors as well, being cow's milk. And then we have Quinta de Fredo, which is a maker also that we carry a couple of times. The tomato jam, we carried tomato jams previously in another clubs. The Portuguese tomato jams, compared to other one, they have this very specific flavor. A lot of times they add cinnamon to it, and the cinnamon kind of creates this warmth with the sweetness of the tomato. It makes it almost taste like it's a little more ripe. But the tomato jam should be really, really good with the more maybe bold flavors of the torta style cheeses.
Yeah, and really like all the jams they do, I think are really delicious. And then we've got some olive oil.
The olive oil, delicious, well, Triunfo, as well as a family-owned business. We wanted something that will be great for, even if it's just to pair with the cheese, you can dip it in it. And Portugal is known for their olive oil as well, but this is something that I feel like can be enjoyed with the soft cheese, the hard cheese, or you can use it on any preparation.
And it comes in a cool little decorative tin as well. So looks good on your kitchen counter. So there we are. There is this month's club, our Portuguese selection. Some really great cheeses, some really cool accompaniments. Should be a very different experience than most of the other experiences you've had in the club. As coming up next month to celebrate the 4th of July coming up, and also this month's actually American Cheese Month, we are going to be focused on cheese from the United States and accompaniments from here as well. There'll be things we've never put in the club before, some really, really cool stuff. So we're excited to explore that with you guys next month. As always, we appreciate you being part of the club. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please shoot me an email, rich@scardellocheese.com. But we really appreciate you guys. Thanks for being a part of it.